Hey, everybody, welcome. This is AEW Weekly. I'm your host for this evening, Asa. K Fabulous is sick, unfortunately, and yeah, she keeps getting sick. She's been sick off and on for a while, and no, that's not code for anything. She actually is sick, so that's unfortunate. But hopefully she gets better soon and joins us back on AEW Weekly where she belongs. And yeah, so it's just me tonight. So viewers, you'll have to help me out a little. Give me some comments and some replies and all that. Listeners, you guys listen after it's live. So listeners, you obviously can't help uh, make the show better because you can't call in or anything. One day we may do something like that. Where it's live audio and video, but it's not tonight. So yeah, just me tonight, and hopefully it goes well, and hopefully you enjoy yourselves. We've got the top five countdowns as always. We've got some topics I want to discuss about AEW, and I don't have anyone to argue with. I'm going to go over Dynamite and Collision matches and the match ratings 0 through 5 bones, and some other stuff as well. Of course, we will miss K Fabulous's wrestling fashion do's and don'ts, as it is just I. But uh, yeah, I've had a decent week. What's been going on? It's been nice to reconnect with Dylan, who is getting ready to relaunch a wrestling podcast Tuesday. If you don't know Dylan, he used to do Long Island wrestling podcast, and very funny, very smart guy. You'll enjoy him once he's back. If you've been watching us, you might have seen him the last 2 weeks or so. Um, yeah, it's been good reconnecting with Willie of Willie Does Wrestling. So got more friends than ever at No Bones About Wrestling, so that's a fun thing. And real quick, I tell you, we're doing this AEW Weekly. Obviously, right now, I'm gonna do it until I don't know when 7 something, and then at 7:55, we're starting our watch along of Dynamite. May just be week. Excuse me, may just be Willie and I tonight on the watch along. I'm not sure if Wolf will be joining us, but hopefully he does. But onward and upward. And we're going to start off with AEW Dynamite. It was January 22nd in Knoxville, Tennessee. I believe that's the city where Kane is the mayor. I could be mistaken, but I believe that's right. Uh, so God help them, I guess. Opened up with a World Tag Team title match. We had Private Party, who had worked for those belts for several years and really deserved a good run with them, a long run with them. They defended against the Hurt Syndicate. Bobby Lashley, of course, former world champion in WWE. Shelton Benjamin, former United States champion. And they've just recently come to AEW and are managed by MVP. And I think they'll start adding members soon. I'll be surprised if they don't. But Private Party took on the Hurt Syndicate. The Hurt Syndicate pretty much just threw Private Party around. We debated even, was this a squash match? I mean, that's how much of a domination this match was for Lashley and Benjamin. And yeah, the Hurt Syndicate, they won. They won the belts, took them home, took them off Private Party, and after years of trying for the belts, they only get a reign of a couple months to Private Party. So that's kind of a bummer. I think they deserved longer with the belts. I think they're, an up and coming tag team. They've been progressing for years, and I think we're just kind of starting to see Private Party in their prime. They've made a lot of advancements over the last 2 years, and I think they'll continue to get better. But AEW took the belts off of them. Uh, Good match, fun match. 3.5 bones out of 5. I would have given it more, except like I said, it was so one-sided. We almost decided to call it a squash match. K Fabulous and I did, but 3.5 bones out of 5 for the Hurt Syndicate's title win. Up next, we had AR Fox, kind of returning to AEW TV, and he took on his old friend Swerve Strickland, former world champion in AEW. And this was a good match. I expected it to be much better, honestly. The two tried some, acrobatic moves, tried to show things we don't usually see, and AR Fox succeeded in that. He always will show you stuff that you don't usually see. So he succeeded in that, but it's just the timing, the match never seemed to really come together and really gel, if you want to say that. The two guys never got on the same page to really be, cooking, as they say nowadays. Swerve Strickland, he got the win after the stomp on AR Fox. And as I said, good match. 3.5 bones out of 5, another one to open Dynamite. Up next, we had a former world champion, Hangman Adam Page, and he pinned some jobber. That's about as much time as I'm going to spend on that match. Wasn't much point to having the match, but Page picked up the win. Up next, we saw former TBS champion Julia Hart, now of the Hounds of Hell. The uh, House of Black is no longer, as you've probably heard by now, uh, Malachi Black, maybe better known as Aleister Black now. We'll say he's headed back. The rumor is he's headed back to WWE. I don't believe anything is official yet. He may end up doing the indie thing like Mustafa Ali did or is doing. I don't know. He just signed with TNA, so we'll see what he does in the near future here. But back to my point. My point is Malachi Black, wherever he's going, whatever he's doing, he seems to be done with AEW. His contract went until 2027, so I'm not sure if it went. What month in 2027 it went to, but so they're ending it at least 2 years early. Um, so which is surprising because Tony Khan did just the opposite for Ray Phoenix. He's keeping Ray Phoenix around while Penta is already in WWE. But Ray Phoenix, because of his injuries, he had more time left on his contract than Penta, and so Ray Phoenix is just sitting on the sidelines until that contract is up. And it looks like the reason I bring that up is it looks like that is not what's going to happen to Malachi Black. It seems he's going to get his release. Now, why is he doing this for Malachi and not doing it for Ray Phoenix? I don't know. Could be the fact that that Malachi Black didn't go online and just berate him like Ray Phoenix did. That could be it. Don't bite the hand that feeds you, as they say. Could be. But it looks like Malachi is leaving. Looks like he's out. And, if I had to make a bet, I would say he's on his way to WWE. But again, that's not official. And so the House of Black no longer, but Julia Hart, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King are staying in the group, and they're calling themselves the Hounds of Hell now. That was to get to that point. So I wish them luck, and hopefully they'll do well with this gimmick. I think they will. And Julia Hart took on former women's world champion Jamie Hayter, and this was a good match. Julia Hart has improved a lot over the last year, especially. To be able to hang with Jamie Hayter, who I think is one of AEW's best women. Um, she's one of their best in general, if you ask me. And Julia put up a good fight here, but she was not able to overcome Jamie. And Jamie Hayter gets the win over Julia Hart. The best match on the show so far, 4 bones out of 5. And then the main event, yes, it's WWE who usually gets criticized for only having, 5 matches on a show, 4 matches on a show. But on this show, AEW only had 5 matches on the show. And one of those was a jobber match. So they only had 4, real matches, if you want to call them that. So, oh, my dog just got back. She's crazy. That's Ripley. If you've seen us enough, you know her. She's going wild. She'll be fine though. Hopefully she doesn't knock all my beverages down here. I always have at least 3 drinks. But yeah, okay. So for the main event, we had former champion in WWE, Adam Copeland, now known as Cope. I still don't really like that. And he took on 1/3 of the AEW World Trios champs, Pac. And this match never really got the two guys never really got hooked up, so to speak. Uh, Never really came together very much. There wasn't a lot going on. It was a very boring match. It was slow, a lot of rest holds. I'm not 100% sure why. I don't see them going out there and that being the plan. A lot of sleeper holds, a lot of uh, like I said, rest holds and headlocks and things like that. AEW doesn't usually do that. Sometimes they will during a commercial, but they don't usually when things are off of commercial, when they're on the main part of the show. But Cope ended up winning. He hit a diamond cutter and pinned Pac. And this match, I give 2 bones out of 5. Worst match of the night by far. Just boring. I did not expect that. I expected it to be one of the better matches of the night, but it wasn't. So best match of the night was Jamie Hayter beating Julia Hart back on January 22nd. 4 bones out of 5. And worst match of the night was Cope defeating Pac. 2 bones out of 5. And the show overall, back on the 22nd, I don't think it did a lot to move things forward. I don't think it. The only real highlight of it was the Hurt Syndicate winning the tag titles, which was a good highlight, but that was it. The show didn't really have much else to speak of. So 2.5 bones overall out of 5, which is one of the lowest ratings I've ever given to Dynamite. Um, Maybe the lowest. I'm not sure. I don't keep up with that honestly, but yeah, 2.5 bones out of 5 for this Dynamite show. All right, and we head to January 25th, AEW Collision. Is AEW Collision Homecoming or Homecoming Collision. I'm not really sure which way they wanted us to read it. But it was January 25th in Jacksonville, Florida, at Daly's Place, which is kind of an offshoot of the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium. It's a much smaller place, and it was AEW's home during the pandemic, which is why they're calling this a homecoming. They wrestled a lot of shows at Daly's Place. It's been the venue they've had the most shows at by far is Daly's Place. And the first time they've been there in a little bit. We open up with former world champion Samoa Joe taking on Patriarchy member Nick Wayne. And Samoa Joe, excellent veteran, has all the moves. Nick Wayne, young guy who I think is on the way to being a big star in this business. He's kept improving since he debuted. How old is he? What is he? 21, 22, maybe 22. He's young, and this was an interesting matchup. The two, they didn't really meet what I expected from them. Samoa Joe pinned Nick Wayne after hitting a muscle buster. And this was Nick Wayne looked good, Samoa Joe looked good. They were fine, but this match, it was just too one-sided. It felt almost like a squash match for Samoa Joe. Nick Wayne got in so little offense, it felt like almost a squash match. And this one, I gave 3 bones out of 5. As I said, it just wasn't competitive enough a match to give a higher rating. So 3 bones out of 5 for Samoa Joe over Nick Wayne. Up next, we had a champion versus champion non-title match. And I should say, let me go back and talk about Samoa Joe and Nick Wayne real quick. The reason we had this was Christian is the one who attacked Samoa Joe. And, eventually he's returned from this injury now, this kayfabe injury, and taking his aggression out on Nick Wayne. They said on the show, paying for the sins of the father. And that's what happened to Nick Wayne. So up next, we had the champion versus champion non-title match, which is an odd choice. You got two champions. Don't put either belt on the line. That's just lame, if you ask me. We had Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada, where my shirt tonight is Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada. That was an exclusive AEW Elite Crate shirt, and if you want to see my reviews of those, they are all on YouTube, the Elite Crates. And I don't get paid to say this; they're really awesome. So you should check out those reviews. And if you're a fan of AEW, if you're as big a fan as I am, you will love the Elite Crates. They have a lot of neat stuff in them. Anyways, so Okada took on Ring of Honor World Television Champion Commander. And this was about as good as you would expect. Okada had his strong style and a bit of technical wrestling going up against Commander's wild high flying. And, Commander's one of those, he's willing to do pretty much any move he can do. We saw some moonsaults. We saw him running the ropes. That's kind of a signature. We saw him, giving shooting star presses to Okada. Saw Commander go all out, but it was not enough to beat Okada. Okada pinned Commander after hitting the Rainmaker, his signature move. And this was a good match, though. Very competitive. And 4 bones out of 5. Best match of the show so far. Okada pinning Commander. So no belts change hands, even though we have 2 champions in the match. As I said, just put one of the belts on the line. Even if you just put Okada's belt on the line, he's winning the match. Just put Okada's belt on the line, and then you've had a match for 2 belts, and you didn't have to change any if you didn't want to. Whatever, doesn't make sense to me. But moving on, we had a trios match. We had the newly revived, newly restored Undisputed Kingdom, the team of Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, former international champion, and Kyle O'Reilly. And they took on TNT champion Daniel Garcia, Cool Hand Ange, who is back from fatherhood, became a father for the first time. I'm blanking on what that's called. Paternity leave, when the male leaves, paternity leave, which is a big thing in European countries and most of the rest of the world. But in America, it's a rare thing for a worker to get paternity leave. So it just goes to show you how Tony Khan runs his company. And another example of how he seems to treat wrestlers the best they've ever been treated. I mean, really, in pro wrestling. But we had Garcia, Cool Hand Ange, and Daddy Magic. And those 3 reuniting as well. As I said, Ange has been gone for a while. And we had a good match. All 6 of these guys can go. Daddy Magic, probably the worst among them, but he still looked good in this match. And Cole, Strong, and O'Reilly looked like they'd been working together for years, as they have. And they ended up getting the win. They hit a high-low on Cool Hand Ange for the pin and the win. Undisputed Kingdom get the trios win and 4 bones out of 5. Another good match here. The show Collision started off a little rough with a Samoa Joe, Nick Wayne, almost a squash match. And then Okada's victory over Commander, Undisputed Kingdom's victory over Garcia, Ange, and Daddy Magic really picked the show up. And then we had the Hounds of Hell, a tag team. So the Hounds of Hell is the stable now with Buddy Matthews, Brody King, and Julia Hart. But this is just the men in a tag team. And they took on former 2/3 of the Trios champions, the Gates of Agony. And this was a good match. Not great, but good. There were some parts that got blown. Just these guys have not worked together a whole lot, to my knowledge. They definitely haven't in AEW. So maybe just some awkwardness, first time working together. But the Hounds of Hell got the win. They had a sliding drop kick by Buddy and a somersault by Brody King combo and got the pin and the win. Hounds of Hell victorious over the Gates of Agony. and 3.5 bones out of 5. Like I said, good match, a decent rating for it. Just some of the spots were so awkward, I couldn't give it more than that. Steven Chambers saying, "What's up? What's up, Steven?" And says, "Like the Hounds of Hell shirt at the shop. I have not seen it yet. So I'll take a look for it tonight, though. I'll make a note." But yeah, I like this stable uh, so far, and I hope they honestly, I hope they go a little more supernatural with it. You know, who Julia Hart still is leaning into the supernatural, but Buddy and Brody King weren't so much, and Malachi was. And as I said, I hope they go a little more supernatural with it now that they're changing the stable around a bit with Malachi seemingly leaving. But yeah, the Hounds of Hell get the tag team win, as thankfully the tag team division is back after the Continental Classic took it away from us for a month. I mean, Continental Classic was awesome. I just wish they could find a way to fit tag team wrestling and the Continental Classic in together. Maybe next year. Up next, we had a no disqualification 4-way match for an AEW TBS title match. We had Deonna Purrazzo. We had the returning Yuka Sakazaki, who keeps returning and keeps getting injured. And the fans really seem to like her. She just can't get a lot of fan support behind her because, as I said, she keeps getting injured. And they took on Serena Deeb, who hasn't been around for a little bit. Very good in the ring. To me, one of the best in the ring in the company. And Queen Aminata showed up with blonde hair, blonde extensions. I don't know what you call it. She had blonde coming out of her head. That's what it was, or a wig. I don't know, but she had a new look, and this was a good match. I'm not a big fan. If you listen to the show or watch it, I'm not a big fan of triple threat matches or 4-way matches. I think it just takes the focus off of the battle that's there. Should be 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3. I just think it takes a little of focus off of 1 versus 2. I think that's what wrestling should be, but I'm old fashioned. I know most people disagree with me, I'm sure. But Yuka Sakazaki, she pinned Deonna Purrazzo with a roll up. And so Yuka Sakazaki gets the win. And they didn't say when the title match will be unless I missed it, which I may have. But Yuka Sakazaki will get a TBS title match against Mercedes Moné. So that should be a pretty cool one. I've not seen those two fight before. They may have in Japan, but they have not in AEW. This was a good match. Again, just 4 ways. I don't like how they always seem to get booked in similar ways. So I get, as I said, good match, but not great. 3.5 bones out of 5. So this collision has really started to shape up as a good show, and they did some good character work as well with the Hounds of Hell, showing some more of Okada's um, dominance. He won the Continental Classic. Here he is beating Commander out of Ring of Honor. We saw Samoa Joe return. So we've gotten some good stuff on this collision. Steven says, Tag Team Continental Classic, possibly, maybe. I would love to see that. Back in the 80s, NWA Mid Atlantic, the Jim Crockett promotion, mostly down south, would focus on tag team wrestling, and they would do like a cup, is what they called it, where you get a big cup, like an indie race or something. Um, and then it would be tag team tournaments. And those are worth looking up on uh, the WWE Vault or Network or whatever the hell it's called. The WWE stuff that's still on Peacock. They're worth looking up on there. Um, the uh, the Cup tag team tournament. So maybe we'll see it come back. I would love it. Oh, okay. Oh, she's fighting Mercedes tonight. Okay. I don't know what the card is tonight. Usually Wolf tells me, but tonight he's not been around yet. I haven't talked to him. Not much. So Steven here is saying Yuka Sakazaki gets the shot against Mercedes Moné tonight. Okay. And Steven kind of said what I'm getting at. Collision really better than Dynamite this time. I totally agree. Collision Dynamite, I thought stunk. And I love AEW, and I'm usually pretty positive. I try and stay positive about things, but Dynamite stunk last week, and Collision was a pretty good show, and much better than Dynamite, which that doesn't usually happen. Doesn't happen much at all. And then for our main event match, we had AEW International Champion Konosuke Takeshita of the Callis family, and he defended against Katsuyori Shibata, former Ring of Honor Pure champion. And this was a good match. Good strong style, good strong strikes. Things looked like they connected. Things really did connect. Some good chain wrestling out of the two. Just a very good match. Uh, Probably the best match of the night, I'd say. And Takeshita pinned Shibata after a Blue Thunder, kind of a Blue Thunder slam, kind of a combo, a different move. I'm not sure if he has a name for that, but that's what it was. Um, so Takeshita keeps the international title, keeps his winning streak alive. I tell you, after the just run that he's made through AEW, it's good to see him finally getting rewarded. Getting a good reign with the international title, and getting a nice winning streak here. And now it is tough again to tell which B level title is the biggest. I would say the Continental right now is number two, and after the World, obviously. And then I would say the International is number three, and the TNT is number four. I don't know if people out there agree with me, but that's the way I see it. You got number two. We just fought for it in the Continental Classic. Okada beat some great competition to keep it. He's had that belt for a while, so that's number two. Number three, Takeshita, another very good wrestler on a great winning streak with the International, which for a while I think was the number two belt, but now I think it's down to number three. And then you got the TNT, which used to definitely be the number two belt, but now I think with Daniel Garcia and not defending it a whole lot, he's down to number four with the TNT. That's what I think. But anyways, Collision, best match of the night. Actually, I take it back. I said Takeshita and Shibata. Best match of the night was Okada's win over Commander. Worst match of the night, I would say Samoa Joe's win over Nick Wayne, which was almost a squash match. But a good show overall. I would give the show overall 4.5 bones out of 5, I think. It was a very good episode of AEW television. Moved some things along, and we had several good matches, and had 6 matches on it, which I think for a 2-hour show, I think that's the minimum. 2 hours, 6 matches should be the minimum, if you ask me. Because I tell you, K Fabulous and I, we were looking at going to Raw. Raw is coming to North Carolina very soon. I forget what city. It might have been Charlotte, I think, but I'm not sure. And we talked very briefly about going to Raw, which I like WWE too. She's not so big on it. But what we decided was, we're not paying fucking $80, however much the tickets are, for a good seat. $100, $120 to go see 4 fucking matches on Raw. I just can't with that. 4 matches over 2 hours and still paying the same price or more than we used to. I can't deal with that shit. So we decided not to go. Maybe sometime in the future. I've been to a ton of WWE shows and only like 3 or 4 AEW shows, so I can deal with it. I've not been to see WWE. Oh no, we went a couple years ago, 2 years ago, and before that, it's been probably since 2010. Yeah, so 2010 to like 2023, I went without seeing WWE or WWF, whatever you want to call it. Stephen Chambers. What is this? Is this the card for Dynamite? I think it is. Yes, I think it is. We got Will Ospreay taking on Brian Cage of the Callis family. We got right. This is the tonight's. Thank you, Stephen. We got Jeff Jarrett versus Claudio Castagnoli. If Jarrett wins, he's wrestling Mox in Australia. We got Ricochet versus AR Fox, which should be great. We've got Mercedes Moné defending the TBS title against Yuka Sakazaki. And we've got Jay White versus Wheeler Yuta. This sounds like a great card to me. I mean, really. All those matches sound good. I mean, any of them could end up being the match of the night, really. So that sounds good to me, which is weird because I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this. Wolf, I asked him if he's going to be here for the watch along, which starts at 7:55. And now let me let you know it's going to be a different stream. So this AEW Weekly stream will end, and then you'll have to find it, or if you subscribe, it'll just tell you it's starting. But the Dynamite watch along will start in a different stream at 7:55. Just remember that. But my point was Wolf, who's usually with us on the watch alongs, he said tonight he wasn't sure if he was going to be on, and he's not sure if he's going to be on. He said the card doesn't move him. Which I tell you, it looks good to me. We got Ospreay and Brian Cage, a world champion, well, a world level champion against a guy who should be world champion, Brian Cage. We got former world champion Jeff Jarrett, excuse me, taking on Claudio Castagnoli in a match with world title match implications. We got Ricochet, one of the best high flyers, taking on AR Fox, another of the best high flyers in the world. We got Mercedes versus Yuka, which may be a first time match, but should be good, whether it is or not. And then we got Jay White versus Wheeler Yuta, and Yuta's shown much improvement. So that one could go either way. But yeah, all these matches sound good to me. So I don't know, Wolf, if you're watching, you got to tell me what you're talking about because I disagree, buddy. But to each their own. All right, and now it is time for the AEW top five. It's your AEW top five rankings, where each week we sweat, we slave, we bleed to bring you the top five rankings in AEW's men, AEW's women division, and AEW's teams, meaning both tag team and trios. So we have a secret formula that we'll never reveal. But K Fabulous, the reason I'm saying it's just me tonight. K Fabulous is sick, but she did have a hand in making the top five. So it was her and I tonight, as it is most nights or most weeks, I should say. And I want to point out also tonight we're at 6:30. Next week we're going to be back at our regular time, Tuesday at 7. AEW Weekly, Tuesday at 7. All right, so let's do women first. Number 5 this week. Lost to Jamie Hayter, but looked good and keeps improving. Julia Hart of the Hounds of Hell. Number 4, again, she looked good and she beat Julia Hart, former world champion Jamie Hayter at number 4. Number 3, she won that 4-way match and is facing Mercedes for the TNT title, the TBS title tonight. And that is Yuka Sakazaki at number 3. At number 2, she returned to her timeless gimmick. That was another thing that made Collision so good, was Toni Storm returned to her timeless gimmick, and she's getting the world title shot at Grand Slam Australia. So number 2, Toni Storm. And number 1, she's been there for months, ever since she won the world title, in fact. And number 1 is Mariah May. So that's number 1. Number 1, Mariah May. Number 2, Toni Storm. Number 3, Yuka Sakazaki. Number 4, Jamie Hayter. And number 5, Julia Hart. All right, now we'll do the teams, top 5 teams. There, Steven says, Hayter's ring gear looks like my couch in the 70s. That's pretty funny. It kind of does look like that, but I tell you, she pulls it off. She's an attractive woman. If we're going just by bodies, maybe has the best body in AEW. Most attractive body. I don't mean like weightlifting or anything like that. I just mean she has the best body. Overall, I don't know who I would put. But anyways, Jamie Hayter, yes. She does look like a couch. Or like a 70s, British or 60s or 70s British mod. Uh, yeah, she pulls it off though. Harley Cameron, best body. Oh, Steven, I think is right on this. Yeah, corrected me, and I think you may be right. Harley Cameron is hot and she's funny, which that's a good combination if you ask me. Hot and funny go well together. All right, back to the rankings. So number 5 on the tag team rankings or on the teams rankings. Private Party. They were the World Tag Team Champions. I think their reign ended too soon, but alas, it is over, and not all that is gold can stay, or nothing that is gold can stay. I think is the saying. So Private Party number 5. Number 4, um, they lost but put on a good showing. The Gates of Agony. They lost to the Hounds of Hell, who are number 3. The Hounds of Hell, Buddy Matthews and Brody King. Number 2, a trios team who's been together for quite a while and are now reunited, and that is Undisputed Kingdom. Kyle O'Reilly, uh, Adam Cole, and Roderick Strong reunited, and at number 2. And number 1 on the team's rankings this week, the Hurt Syndicate, the new AEW World Tag Team Champions, of course, winning them from Private Party. So for teams, it's number 1, the Hurt Syndicate. Number 2, Undisputed Kingdom Trios Team. Number 3, the Hounds of Hell. Number 4, the Gates of Agony. And number 5, Private Party. I tell you, AEW has some good tag team names too. Yeah, the Hurt Syndicate coming in at number 1. All right, and uh, for the top 5 men, number 5, former AEW World Champion, got a win in a decent match over AR Fox, and that is Swerve Strickland at number 5. Number 4, the Continental Champion, who had a good match defeating Commander, and that's Kazuchika Okada, number 4. And I guess no longer a member of the Elite. I don't think the Elite exists anymore. We'll see. Uh, Jack Perry's off of TV. The Young Bucks are off of TV. So the only one on TV is Okada, and they never mention the Elite. So I don't know what's going on with that stable. Number 3 in the rankings. He didn't have a great match, but he did win the main event of Dynamite. And that is Adam Copeland, or Cope, as they call him now, coming in at number 3 with his win over Peck. Number 2, Konosuke Takeshita. Got a win. He's the international champion, and he got a win in, I think, the main event of Collision. Yeah, over Katsuyori Shibata. Good match. And number 1, he's been there for a couple months, and that is Jon Moxley, the world champion. So that's number 1, Moxley. Number 2, Konosuke Takeshita. Number 3, Adam Copeland. Number 4, Kazuchika Okada, the Continental Champ. And number 5, Swerve Strickland. And those are your top 5 rankings. And now I have some things I want to talk about real quick. And viewers, you can, it's just me tonight. So feel free to join in with your opinions. It could help to talk together. First, I want to just talk about the AEW Grand Slam Australia card, which I think we only have. Excuse me. I think we only have 2 matches for it so far. We have Kenny Omega, the God of Wrestling, teaming up with Will Ospreay, the other God of Wrestling, as they face Kyle Fletcher and international champion Konosuke Takeshita, both of the Callis family. And this one, I'm not sure what's going to go down. Do we just see Omega and Ospreay get the win and become a kind of the gods of tag team wrestling, the way that Omega and Hangman Page did years ago? Do we see, a lot of people think we may see an Omega or Ospreay turn and one of them head over to the Callis family. And for either of them, it would be a return. Omega and Osprey have both been with Callis in the past, so I'm not sure, but whatever happens in this match, it's going to be phenomenal. I think that's safe to say. I don't think this will end up as the main event, but I don't know. With Omega and Osprey together in the same match, I think it probably should be the main event. Um, but I'm also usually for putting the world title as the main event, so I understand if it's not. And the other match we have set for Grand Slam Australia is Mariah May, excuse me, defending her uh, women's world title against Tony Storm, timeless Tony Storm again. And in that one, I think Tony's taking it back. I think Mariah May has had a good, pretty long reign with it. I just don't see how Tony returns to timeless Tony and loses the match in Australia. Never mind. Tony Khan likes to give people wins in their home cities, home countries. It's like the opposite of the Vince McMahon principle when he used to love to embarrass people in their home cities or home countries or whatever. But now we learn it's some sort of embarrassment fetish with him, so that makes it really weird to watch nowadays with people always getting fucked over in their hometowns. But who wins that match? Yeah, I'll pick Tony Storm. And who wins the tag team match? If it's straight up match, Osprey and Omega win. But it feels like something's gonna happen during that match. Um, Johnny, what's up? And Johnny says Mariah had a long reign, but I don't remember her title defenses. Very good. I totally agree with that. Yeah, that is an apt point. Yeah, I don't remember her title defenses either. Sitting here, I mean, we do the show every week, and I can't even remember them. Um, yeah, I'm not remembering one of them, so that's a good point. And so, yeah, I think it might be time to give it back to Tony Storm. She definitely deserves it to be the head of the women's division. And Johnny also says John Moxley and Mercedes Moné have been the best booked champions. Yeah, I agree. They really look like champions, and yeah, as you said, Johnny, have been booked that way. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. That's my laundry. They both look strong as champions. Um, yeah, so Grand Slam Australia, we only have two matches, but it's coming together pretty well, I think. K Fabulous is not here, so we don't have her wrestling fashion, unfortunately. And I have something else I want to talk about really briefly, kind of. And so on, God, I can't remember if it was Collision or Dynamite. I think it was Collision. It was Collision. It was Collision. There was this, vignette, and they're in a castle or some shit. It reminded me of an old WCW vignette, and I mean that in a positive way. And so we zoom into this castle like dining room or meeting room, and we've got Don Callis, Kyle Fletcher, Brian Cage, Lance Archer, and Konosuke Takeshita there. And they're talking about, Omega and Osprey and how they're going to take them down and battle them. And, and at the end of this vignette, Don Callis says, "Who said there's only five of us?" Which again gets back to what I mentioned for a second a couple minutes ago. Is Omega joining the Callis family? Is Osprey joining the Callis family? Is someone not in that match coming to join the Callis family? What do you guys think? I don't know. I have some opinions, but I'll wait a second. Johnny asks, should Grand Slam be pay-per-view? I think definitely it should be a pay-per-view. They're setting it up to be a big show, so why not make it a pay-per-view? I'm confused why it's not. And with the card again, Omega and Osprey versus Fletcher and Takeshita. That's enough to make it a pay-per-view right there. And we got Mariah May versus Toni Storm, the best feud in the women's division over the last year. I think both of those are made for pay-per-view matches. So to have this show and it not be a pay-per-view is kind of, which seems to be the direction they're heading, is not having it be a pay-per-view. Um, yeah, it's just kind of strange to me. And at this point, I think it's so late in the cycle, we'll call it, that I don't think they have time to promote it as a pay-per-view and it do the kind of numbers that they would want. Yeah, again, I will ask the question out there. What do you think's going to happen in this Callis family versus Omega and Osprey match? I think, just the way he said it, who said that there's only five of us. I think we're going to see someone maybe from the mid card join the Callis family as a way of kind of bringing him up, because we have Kyle Fletcher, who's mid card, just on the cusp of being a main eventer. We have Brian Cage, who is strictly mid card, although he should be in the world title race. I mean, just look at the guy. He's a wrestler. He's a pro wrestler, if ever there was one. And he's so skilled. And you've heard me a million times talking about Brian Cage. You got Lance Archer, who's strictly at mid Carter in the United States, at least. And then you've got Konosuke Takeshita, who is mid Carter, but kind of like Kyle Fletcher, right there at being a main eventer. I mean, he main evented Collision this week, but that doesn't make you just a main eventer right off. But my point is, the Callis family does seem to be able to help elevate people, and Don Callis is able to help people get heel heat. Which I didn't think Kyle Fletcher was going to get much, just because he's been so tremendous. But now the fans do dislike Kyle Fletcher. Same thing with Takeshita. I thought the fans would stay with him because he's just such a good wrestler. But with Don Callis with him, the fans have turned on him. So I think we may see a six-man join the Callis family, and it'll be a mid-carder who needs their status kind of lifted. Needs just a little push to get over the mid-card hump. Or you could get someone who's kind of a main eventer already, but doesn't seem to have a spot in the storylines, and that's Kazuchika Okada. I think Okada would make an excellent addition to the Callis family. He would be kind of the highest ranking member, if you want to call it that, the highest up on the card out of any member of the family. So that would be a big get for them, Kazuchika Okada. Uh, could add a woman, you know, maybe could add Mariah May, where she loses her women's title but keeps her heat as revealing herself as the sixth member of the Callis family. That could be a chance. Or I don't really see a tag team going in, so I'd have to pick either Mariah May or, like I said, I think Okada would be a good way to go. I think the Super Shock way to go, and I don't think they'll do this, but would be for Copeland to join. I think that would, someone of, like I said, Okada or Copeland, um, of their ilk, would really make this a big magnitude of a get for the Callis family. And Johnny here said Okada should stay away from factions. He was just in the elite. I hear you. I hear you. You can make that argument for sure. Um, I feel like being with Callis because Okada's English is not great. I mean, he's great in the ring, obviously. Hey, what's up, Eric? He's great in the ring, obviously, Johnny, but not on the mic. So I think for him to get that main event heel heat that he needs and deserves to get, I think having Don Callis with him could push him up and over edge to main eventer. I hear what you're saying about just hopping from the Elite to Don Callis. It's not ideal, but I think it would work out for him. And Johnny says Johnny TV would be good for the Don Callis family. I totally agree. There's a good mid Carter who would be a great fit. Yeah, I agree. So it could be anyone. Because, like I said, Callis has taken people and shown that he gets them over, or he gets them more over than they were before. Um, and Johnny says, or maybe Ortiz. Is he still on the roster? Ortiz? I'm not sure, but he may be. And Eric says, playing Hogwarts on PS4, a very good game. I've heard that. It looks fun. Yeah. I'm not a Harry Potter super fan yet, but I've read the first 3 books. I've seen all the movies, and it's fun. Kay Fabulous though, she is a Harry Potter super fan. She's read the books several times and is constantly listening to the audiobooks and watches the movies, has seen the movies, and we went to Harry Potter World or whatever it's called at Universal, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, Johnny says, yeah, Ortiz is still there. Okay. And Johnny says, yeah, I knew Santana went to TNA, but after people go to TNA, to me, they kind of vanish. And that's nothing against TNA. I don't watch it. I don't have time to watch it, honestly. But I watch WWE, I watch AEW, and then I got to put these shows together and all that. I don't have time to watch more wrestling and go to independent shows. I don't have time for any more wrestling in my life. So yeah, TNA, I never watch it. I watch the Ring of Honor pay-per-views, but just the pay-per-views. Anyway, folks, let's see. Johnny asks, "What's your favorite non-Royal Rumble match of all time?" Um, do you mean non-Royal Rumble match at the Royal Rumble? Is that what you mean, or just non-Royal Rumble match? But I think he means non-Royal Rumble match at the Royal Rumble. I would honestly, I'd have to go with the Quebecers. I know this is a weird answer, but I would have to go with the 1994, the Quebecers versus the Hart brothers. So one, it was awesome. You didn't see it a whole lot to see Brett and Owen as a tag team, and they got a world title shot against the Quebecers. But Brett's leg got injured during the match, and this is where Owen's heel turn really well, that's where he turned. It started back at Survivor Series 93, but Owen was so pissed off that Brett stayed in this match with a bum leg, with an injured leg, and didn't tag in Owen. Owen was so pissed off that he started beating his brother's ass and going after that injured leg. And this is when he became a heel, and the fans were hating him, and this is also where I think he said he kicked Brett's leg out from under his leg or something like that. Um, but yeah, that's my favorite non-Rumble Royal Rumble match. Yeah, and the Quebecers won and kept their World Tag Team titles. And they're an underrated team, the Quebecers. They were the Mountie, the guy better known as the Mountie, but he was Jacques Rougeau here, and had Pierre, who I think nowadays is known as PCO, whatever his name is in TNA. He does like a Frankenstein character, but that's Quebecer Pierre, and he also is the pirate character Jean Pierre Lafitte. But the Quebecers underrated. If you don't know a lot about them, go check out some Quebecers matches. Very good as a tag team. But yeah, that Quebecers versus Brett and Owen at Rumble 94, my favorite non-Rumble match. And hey, what's up, Antonio? And speaking of the Royal Rumble, we are doing our prediction and preview show tomorrow night, Thursday at 7 uh, on X and on YouTube, and the audio will be put on Spotify and all the podcast places. Just to remind you, these shows, not the watch alongs, because that's obviously more visual, but the other shows like AEW Weekly, WWE Weekly, and the prediction shows, they all get put on podcast places. I mean, audio only. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that. We're on there. So if you want to take us in your, on your phone and whatever, and listen to us in the car, we we still do the audio versions. Just I don't mention them a lot because we got so much going on, but they still get put up there every week. Johnny says, which Brett versus Owen match do you prefer, WrestleMania or the SummerSlam Steel Cage? Definitely WrestleMania 10. It was the match of the night. It was the best opening match in the history of WrestleMania, if you ask me. And they put on a great show. It was the best match of that WrestleMania for sure. And those two really wanted to show what they could do together in a ring, and they put on just a technical clinic. So yeah, WrestleMania 10 definitely. The cage match is great too, but I mean that's one of my favorite feuds ever, Brett versus Owen. But I'd have to go with the just regular match at WrestleMania 10. Yeah. And Antonio says tonight he'll be watching a Dynamite live. Let's go. I agree. Let's go. Um, and with that being said, I'm going. And as I said, we are doing a watch along tonight. It's going to be at 7:55. So this stream is going to end. The watch along is going to be a different stream. It'll be called AEW Watch Along 129 2025. Um, or you can subscribe to us and it will tell you, hey, it's starting. So you should subscribe to us, like our videos, all that stuff. That really makes a big difference. I'm serious, because we would like to eventually maybe try and make some money and do this, on a bigger scale. But we're starting off very low here. So subscribe and like our videos, and we can do it on bigger scale and have props and all that kind of ridiculous shit. But that's it for AEW Weekly. AEW Weekly will be back at its regular time next week, Tuesday night at 7. And hopefully Kay Fabulous will be back. She's been sick for quite a while. So hopefully she gets better and can return to the show. If not, I may have a guest host. We'll see. But this is Asa saying goodbye, and check out the Dynamite Watch Along, which is in 25 minutes on X and on YouTube uh, in 25 minutes. And then a Royal Rumble preview and prediction show is Thursday at 7. And then our Royal Rumble watch along is Saturday at 5:55. So hopefully I'll see you for all that stuff, and have a great night. And hopefully I'll see you in 25 minutes for our Dynamite watch along. And should be a good show tonight. Thanks, everybody. Bye.